If you want to understand why change is so hard and why drifting seems so effortless, you must come face to face with what Napoleon Hill called hypnotic rhythm. It's a force so subtle, so persistent, that it shapes your life without you ever naming it. In this chapter, the devil himself lays out how habits, good, bad, and indifferent, become the grooves along which most lives run. I began our new conversation by asking, what is hypnotic rhythm really? How is it different from the habits we already know? The devil smiled, as if this was his favorite topic. Hypnotic rhythm is the law of repetition. It is what happens when thoughts and actions repeated often enough become automatic. At first, you choose your routines. But soon, your routines choose for you. Hypnotic rhythm turns drifting from an accident into a system, a set of tracks that keep you going in circles, even when you want out. He described how every thought, every word, every decision leaves a mark. A single action is just a choice, but repeated 100 times, it's a pattern. Repeated 1,000, it's a groove. The mind is shaped not by what you want, but by what you repeat. The devil claimed that hypnotic rhythm is neutral. It serves whatever you feed it: fear or faith, action or avoidance, resentment or gratitude. Most people drift not because they are evil or lazy, but because they have trained their minds to do so without realizing it. I pressed him, how does hypnotic rhythm work against us? He explained, drifting is easy because you've already done it so many times. The mind, once set to autopilot, resists change. That's why New Year's resolutions fade, why inspiration dies on Monday morning, why the old world calls you back with every setback. You don't just fall into bad habits, you slide down the well-worn groove of hypnotic rhythm. He painted a picture of how this force invades every area of life. Look at your morning. Do you wake with intention or with your phone? Look at your conversations. Are you curious or just repeating old complaints? Hypnotic rhythm means most days are copies of the last. People think they make choices, but most of what they do is simply the momentum of yesterday, dressed up as decision. Curious, I asked, is there any hope for change? The devil admitted, there is, but it's a narrow door. To break hypnotic rhythm, you must first see it. Most never do. They fight habits at the level of willpower, never realizing they are trying to outrun a law as real as gravity. Only awareness, intention, and consistent new action can carve a new groove. He described the two faces of this force. If you build patterns of courage, discipline, gratitude, the same law works in your favor. The grooves that once kept you stuck now keep you moving forward. Hypnotic rhythm doesn't care what you choose. It only amplifies your choices. As our conversation drew to a pause, I understood the enormity of the challenge. Hypnotic rhythm is not just a personal flaw, but a universal law of force that shapes every life, for better or worse. So ask yourself, what rhythms are shaping your days? Which grooves keep you drifting, and which could carry you forward if you dared to change them? The devil had more to reveal, but already, the ground beneath drifting had started to shift. As the conversation deepened, the devil grew more animated, even triumphant. People fear me as some dark spirit, but my real magic is mechanical, he said. Hypnotic rhythm is the conveyor belt of human existence. Once someone steps onto it, whether by drifting or by intention, my work is nearly done. He explained that every repeated thought or action is like striking a path through a field. The first time, it's rough and awkward. The 100th, it's a road. The 1,000th, a superhighway. Most people believe their days are guided by choices, but I know they are shaped by momentum. When you repeat anything, doubt, complaint, distraction, even the way you tie your shoes, you lay down another brick in your own mental highway. I challenged him, so is all repetition dangerous? The devil shook his head. No, repetition is simply the tool. It is neutral, as useful for liberation as for enslavement. But most people repeat unconsciously. They replay worries, revisit past failures, retell their limitations. These patterns carve out grooves so deep that new possibilities roll right off, leaving only the rut. That is the tragedy and the genius of hypnotic rhythm. He described how society, too, is built on these invisible tracks. Schools, families, entire cultures reinforce hypnotic rhythm. Rules become laws, customs become dogma, groupthink becomes fate. A society can drift just as easily as an individual, and the weight of tradition is the devil's favorite instrument. We explored how hypnotic rhythm sustains drifting. Drifting is not just a habit, it's a ritual, the devil said. Morning routines, small talk, the news you consume, even your inner self-criticism will become part of the rhythm. After a while, you mistake the music for reality itself. I asked about the breaking point. Is there a way to disrupt hypnotic rhythm once it's set? The devil smiled, conceding that his law is not unbreakable. Disruption always begins with discomfort. The first step out of any rhythm is awkward, jarring, sometimes even painful. That's why most people give up, mistaking the growing pains of change for proof that change is impossible. But the law works both ways. The more often you disrupt the pattern, choose a different response, speak an unspoken truth, sit in silence rather than fill the air, the easier it becomes. New grooves form. Eventually, the unfamiliar becomes the new normal. He admitted that the greatest enemy of hypnotic rhythm is attention. The person who notices their rituals is already halfway free. To pause and ask, "Why am I doing this?" is to put a wedge in the wheels. You don't have to fight all your habits at once. Interrupt one rhythm, and you weaken the whole system. The devil shared one last insight. Never underestimate the power of environment. Change your surroundings, your company, your inputs, and you'll find the rhythm shifting sometimes before you even try. As our talk paused, I was left with a growing sense of possibility. Hypnotic rhythm is powerful, yes, but it is not destiny. Every groove, no matter how deep, can be reshaped by intention, attention, and the willingness to be uncomfortable long enough to make the new familiar. So, what pattern will you disrupt today? Which rhythm are you ready to notice and then to change? The devil's favorite law was exposed, but there was more to learn. With each revelation, the mechanics of hypnotic rhythm became more visible, no longer a mystical curse, but a force as real and predictable as gravity. I challenged the devil, give me examples. How does hypnotic rhythm show up in everyday life? What does it look like when someone is ruled by it rather than using it? The devil answered eagerly, look to the small things first. The person who complains about Mondays, not just once but every week, turns a joke into a ritual and the ritual into a mindset. The student who tells herself, I'm just bad at math, solidifies her struggle not through fact, but through repetition. The employee who accepts boredom, who goes through motions without question, turns apathy into a groove so deep that even opportunity can't climb out. He described how hypnotic rhythm captures families. Notice the dinner table. Do people connect, or do they scroll in silence? Do they share ambitions, or rehearse grievances? Over time, the script repeats. Silence becomes the norm. Small talk replaces depth, and what started as a single night of distraction becomes a family tradition of disengagement. The devil pointed to the wider world. Entire cities live in rhythm rush hours, gossip cycles, buying seasons. The media repeats the same stories until the public reacts on cue, not from thought, but from habit. Even outrage is manufactured. People learn to be angry or afraid on schedule, with each repetition digging the groove deeper. He explained how even ambition can be captured. Many people believe they are pursuing success, but they're just running the track laid by others chasing the same promotions, the same accolades, because that's the rhythm that's been set. True creation, real change, comes only from disrupting the inherited beat. Curious, I asked, can hypnotic rhythm be seen in moments of crisis? The devil nodded. Absolutely. When disaster strikes, people default to their deepest grooves. The courageous take action, not because they think, but because they have practiced. The fearful freeze, not from logic, but from habit. Even in chaos, the mind seeks the familiar path. We talked about how to recognize when you're in the grip of hypnotic rhythm. The devil listed the signs. Life feels automatic. Days blur together. You react, but rarely reflect. The same problems return no matter where you go. You find yourself saying, it's just who I am, as if your current groove is your fate. In these moments, my law is at its strongest. He gave practical advice for reclaiming control. Interrupt the script. Change your route to work. Ask a new question at dinner. Say yes where you always say no, or no where you always say yes. Even the smallest change can break the trance. The key is not to wait for a crisis, but to disrupt the rhythm before it disrupts you. The devil's tone grew almost urgent as he warned. Beware of believing that only dramatic change counts. Every pattern you interrupt, every moment you choose rather than coast, is a victory over hypnotic rhythm. As this part ended, I saw that the battle is not with some external villain, but with the invisible tracks we ride every day. The groove is deep, but not eternal. So, look around. What is your life repeating? What could you choose differently today? The devil's favorite law may be strong, but your attention is stronger. As our conversation dug even deeper, the devil revealed his pride in how hypnotic rhythm masquerades as normal life. People cling to the comfort of their patterns, never realizing they've been hypnotized, he explained. They defend their routines fiercely, not because those routines serve them, but because change threatens the groove their minds have been lulled into. He described how the world rewards those who play by its rhythms. You want to fit in? Mimic the rituals of your peers. Agree with the loudest voice in the room. Go with the flow even, if the flow is leading you nowhere. Most people will never notice the cage because it's built from their own repetition. When something feels automatic, easy, just the way it's always been, my work is already done. I asked about willpower. Isn't it enough to want to change? The devil chuckled. Willpower is useful, but it's quickly exhausted if you fight hypnotic rhythm head on. You can't outmuscle 1,000 yesterdays with one inspired morning. Instead, you must outsmart the rhythm. Use its own force against it. Replace a harmful pattern with a helpful one. Make your new groove easier to follow than the old. He gave the example of habit stacking. Link a new intention to an old routine. Leave a notebook by your bed if you want to write each morning. Stand up every time you answer the phone if you want to move more. Change the environment so your best intentions become the default. The law works for you if you design the tracks. We talked about the power of trigger cues in your day that launch patterns automatically. Most people use triggers against themselves, social media icons, stress snacks, gossip at lunch. But you can plant your own. A sticky note with a question, a reminder on your phone, a picture of your goal. These tiny interventions can disrupt years of sleepwalking. The devil warned that relapse is part of the process. You will slip back. Don't curse yourself for drifting. Expect it and prepare. The winners aren't those who never fall off the track, but those who climb back on, again and again, until the new groove becomes the norm. He offered a crucial mindset. See each day as a practice, not a test. The point isn't to be perfect, but to interrupt the old rhythm one more time than you fall into it. Progress isn't a straight linear, it's a spiral of small returns. My power fades every time you choose again. We discussed the environment's role. Spend time with people who challenge you to be awake. Let their questions and courage shape your groove. Move your furniture, switch your routines, change your scenery if you must. The smallest disruption can ripple through your whole system. As this part concluded, I saw that the devil's favorite law is subtle but not unstoppable. Hypnotic rhythm is real, but so is the power to redesign your life one small, repeated act at a time. So, what will you interrupt today? Which groove will you outgrow? And which will you build anew? Remember, the rhythm is strong, but your intention is the metronome. As we reach the heart of our exchange, I pressed the devil for the real secret. If hypnotic rhythm can be disrupted, how can a person use it to their advantage so life works for them, not against them? For once, the devil sounded almost respectful. You want the truth? The same law that enslaves can set you free. It has no favorites. The question is what groove you build. He began with the basics. Start small. You cannot overhaul a lifetime of habits in one heroic gesture. Pick one intention. Attach it to something you already do, waking up, brushing your teeth, walking to your car. Repeat, repeat, repeat. At first it feels awkward, but awkwardness is the sign that a new groove is being cut. The devil explained the power of conscious repetition. The mind resists change, not because it's weak, but because it's efficient. It would rather run the old software. But when you persist in times, 100 times, 1,000, your new action becomes the default. Hypnotic rhythm is the brain's way of economizing. Give it a better groove and it will run with that. He warned of the temptation to do too much at once. Ambition is good, but impatience is my ally. People who try to change everything at once burn out and return to their old tracks, often with more guilt than before. Real mastery is about patience. Celebrate every return to the new groove. Every time you notice and correct, you deepen the path. We explored stacking good habits. Want to transform your health, your finances, your mindset? Build small, consistent rituals and layer them. Drink water after every coffee. Write a line of gratitude after every meal. Replace a complaint with a question. Each one on its own seems minor, but together they build an unstoppable momentum. The devil spoke of environment again. Design your life so the better choice is the easier one. Remove temptations, place reminders, ask others to check in on you. You don't need perfect discipline if your surroundings are aligned with your intentions. He described how even setbacks become part of the process. Every time you slip and start again, the law is working for you. Persistence is the chisel, intention is the hammer. The only real failure is giving up the right to try again. I asked, how will you know when a new rhythm is taking hold? The devil replied, you'll feel less resistance. The behavior will feel natural, even enjoyable. Others may notice before you do. Your days will change shape and not all at once, but in the gentle way a river carves a canyon. As we concluded this section, the core lesson was clear. Hypnotic rhythm is not your enemy, it is your amplifier. It makes whatever you repeat stronger, deeper, harder to break. Use it wisely, and even the smallest good habits can become the soundtrack of your life. So, ask yourself, what new groove are you ready to start cutting today? What small action, repeated, will set you free? The devil's law is powerful, but your intention is the one conductor it cannot ignore. By now, the mechanics of hypnotic rhythm had become clear. Repetition creates grooves, and grooves shape destinies. But what, I pressed, about lasting change? If someone manages to create a new, positive rhythm, how do they make sure it holds even when life pushes back? The devil leaned forward, his tone both wary and candid. The secret is reinforcement. New rhythms, like young trees, are fragile at first. You must guard them until their roots run deep. This means more than just willpower. It's about building a system of support. He outlined 3 pillars: environment, accountability, and self-compassion. First, environment. Surround yourself with reminders of the life you want. Rearrange your home, set visual cues, choose friends and influences that reinforce your new direction. Every object, every face, every message is either strengthening your groove or weakening it. Next, he spoke of accountability. Tell someone about your change. Ask them to check in. Share your goal in a group. When your intention lives outside your head, spoken, written, witnessed, it becomes much harder to abandon in secret. Even a single ally makes the new rhythm more likely to last. Self-compassion, the devil admitted, is the 3rd pillar and perhaps the hardest. People expect perfection, and when they fall short, they use it as an excuse to quit. But the awakened treat every slip as part of the process. They return again and again, not with shame, but with curiosity. They ask, what triggered the old groove? What can I do differently next time? Over time, the new rhythm becomes less effort, more identity. We discussed the natural ebb and flow of motivation. There will be days of high energy, when the new path feels easy, even exhilarating. There will be days of fatigue, boredom, stress when the old groove tries to reclaim you. The wise prepare for these storms. They simplify on hard days, lean on rituals, and forgive themselves quickly. The devil stressed the importance of tracking progress. Even the smallest victories deserve celebration. Mark your streaks, notice your returns, take pride in every act of participation. Progress is never invisible when you look for it. He warned about overconfidence. The moment you believe the new rhythm is unbreakable, you grow vulnerable. Hypnotic rhythm is patient. It waits for complacency, for distraction, for a crisis to test your resolve. The vigilant treat every day as a fresh choice. As our dialogue closed, the most profound truth emerged. Long-term transformation is not about heroics, but about humble, repeated effort. The devil's law may be strong, but it always serves the hand that chooses with intention. So, as you reflect, ask yourself, what support does your new rhythm need? Who can you invite into your practice? How will you celebrate each return, each step, each day you show up for yourself? Hypnotic rhythm is always at work. The only question is, will it serve your old story or help you write a new one? With the devil's confessions mounting, I wanted to expose one last truth. Why do some people break free from destructive grooves while others seem forever trapped? His answer was as much a lesson as a warning. Presence, he began, is the great disruptor. Most people live yesterday's day, tomorrow's worry. They run the old pattern, not out of choice, but out of habit. Those who break hypnotic rhythm are those who learn to return again and again to what's happening now. He described mindfulness as the antidote to automatic living. When you pause, even for a breath, you create a gap in the groove. In that space, you can question, is this serving me? Every act of noticing is a hammer blow to the old rhythm. The more you return, the weaker my hold becomes. I asked about the myth of the big change. The devil was quick to puncture it. Transformation isn't about a single heroic leap. It's about 1,000 tiny returns. The person who wakes up early, not for a week, but for years, the one who interrupts a complaint with gratitude, not once, but daily builds a groove so deep that even in crisis, the old pattern has no foothold. He gave practical ways to bring presence into daily life. Set anchors rituals that return you to awareness. A cup of tea sipped slowly, a walk without a phone, a moment at your desk before you open your email. These small choices teach the mind to expect disruption, not just drift. We talked about handling setbacks. Most people judge themselves for drifting, then sink deeper into the old rhythm. But the wise notice, accept, and gently return. Each return is a thread, and many threads make a rope strong enough to pull you out of any rut. He warned that impatience is his greatest ally. If I can convince you that slow progress is no progress, you'll quit before you even feel the groove begin to shift. But persistence, practiced daily and quietly, is my undoing. Small steps compound. Before you know it, the new rhythm is the one that feels natural and the old one, a distant memory. The devil revealed his least favorite habit, gratitude. Nothing disrupts hypnotic rhythm like the act of naming what's good. It snaps you out of autopilot and rewires your focus. Even on your worst days, a moment of gratitude puts the power back in your hands. He concluded with a challenge. You want to outwit me? Don't wait for the perfect plan. Interrupt your rhythm now. Begin with a breath, a question, a single act of kindness. The world will try to pull you back, but every act of presence is a rebellion. As this part drew to a close, the truth was unmistakable. Breaking hypnotic rhythm is not an act of force, but a practice of return. Every moment is a new chance to choose. So, where will you return today? What single act of presence can you offer yourself? The devil's grooves may be deep, but your awareness is deeper. As we continued, the devil's mask of confidence slipped, replaced by a grudging respect. I pressed him. What happens when someone has truly replaced their old groove with a new one? Does your influence disappear forever? He gave a wry smile. No law disappears, but its allegiance changes. Hypnotic rhythm will always be there, but now it works for you, not against you. He described the compounding effect of positive habits. The smallest acts, done consistently, become the strongest patterns. A daily walk, an honest conversation, a gratitude journal, these are the bricks of a new road. At first, they feel insignificant, but over time, they change the terrain of your life. What was once hard becomes automatic. What was once a fight becomes a flow. The devil admitted that old patterns will try to resurface, especially under stress or boredom. When you're tired, hungry, or lonely, the old groove calls you back. This is normal. But every time you return to your chosen practice, you deepen the new rhythm. Your mind starts to crave the habits that serve you, not those that trap you. He explained the hidden power of identity. Your habits aren't just actions, they become evidence for who you are. Every repetition whispers, this is the kind of person I am. Over months and years, you begin to believe it, and the world reflects it back. Others notice your calm, your reliability, your presence. New opportunities find you, because you've become someone who attracts them. We discussed the ripple effect. One person's new rhythm can influence a family, a workplace, even a community. When you show up differently, you give others permission to try. Your courage, your patience, your persistence, they all ripple outward, weakening my hold on everyone you touch. The devil warned of complacency, though. Never believe your new groove is permanent. The world will change. You will change. Life will throw surprises, loss, success, stress, boredom. The secret is to keep participating. Return to your core practices, especially when you feel the old rhythm stirring. He shared a parting mindset. See your habits as allies, not burdens. Each one is a tool for your freedom. When you fall, forgive quickly. When you succeed, celebrate gently. Keep your eyes on the process, not the finish line. As our dialogue closed for this section, the wisdom was simple but profound. Hypnotic rhythm can never be fully escaped, but it can be befriended. The law that once held you back can, with time and intention, become your greatest strength. So, what practice will you return to today? What rhythm can you make your ally for life? The devil's last defense is the myth of done. The real work is in showing up again and again until the groove serves your highest purpose. Drawing closer to the end of our exchange, I wanted to know, what happens when life throws a crisis, a loss, a setback, a change so great it shakes the ground beneath your feet? Does hypnotic rhythm crumble, or does it simply reveal itself? The devil leaned in, his eyes gleaming with the pleasure of a hard question. In crisis, he said, your true groove is revealed. Stress doesn't break hypnotic rhythm, it exposes it. Whatever you've practiced, courage, avoidance, compassion, bitterness will come rushing to the surface. This is why some people rise in chaos while others freeze, complain, or collapse. Their patterns are running the show. He explained how a crisis can actually be an opportunity. If you've spent years building new habits, the storm is a test stand, a teacher. Your first reaction will always be your deepest groove, but the awakened know how to pause. Even if old patterns try to take over, each act of mindful attention gives you back your agency. You can choose, in the midst of chaos, to practice your new rhythm. Every return in hard times makes the new groove stronger than ever. The devil described how identity, built on repetition, acts as a shield. When your habits are aligned with your values, your sense of self becomes unshakable. You don't just act with discipline, you are disciplined. You don't just show kindness, you are kind. In crisis, the habits you've rehearsed are the ones that lead you through. He warned that setbacks are a crossroads. Many people let a crisis become an excuse to return to old ways. The pain, the fear, the pressure all seem to justify giving up the new for the comfort of the old. But this is my final trick, convincing you that difficulty means defeat. The real winners aren't those who never fall, but those who never stop returning. Each time you practice your new habit, especially under stress, you prove to yourself and to the world that your groove is real. We talked about resilience. Resilience isn't about never breaking down. It's about how quickly you come back. The more you practice returning to your new rhythm, the faster and stronger you recover, no matter the size of the setback. The old law is still there, waiting for your surrender. But with every comeback, you claim a bit more freedom. The devil spoke almost with admiration of the few who use crisis as fuel. Some rise higher after a fall than before. Their setbacks are the forging fires that deepen their new groove. Their stories inspire others, weaken my hold on those around them, and prove that hypnotic rhythm can be bent, sometimes even remade by courage in the storm. As this section ended, the core message was clear. In the hardest moments, your habits become your hope. Don't fear the test, prepare for it. The time to build resilience is now, not when the world falls apart. So, as you look at your own life, ask, what groove will carry you through your next crisis? What habits will you fall back on? And which ones are you building today to be your strength tomorrow? As the conversation drew to its close, the devil, finally stripped of his earlier bravado, left me with one last challenge and, perhaps, the most liberating truth of all. Hypnotic rhythm is always at work, he confessed, but its direction is yours to choose. The world will try to lull you back into old grooves. Fear, fatigue, routine, even small successes all will tempt you to surrender to the default. But every act of intention, no matter how small, reshapes the law itself. He spoke of the lifelong nature of this work. Do not seek the day when your habits require no maintenance, when change is finally finished. The awakened accept that every morning is a new beginning, every setback a cue to return, every victory a reason to continue, not to stop. Hypnotic rhythm is both your adversary and your greatest ally. It is the force that keeps you stuck, or the one that sets you free. The devil explained how those who master this law become impossible to stop. Once your chosen rhythm is strong, setbacks do not destroy you, they remind you to return. Success does not make you complacent, it inspires you to deepen the groove. You outwit me not by escaping the law, but by enlisting it on your side. He challenged me to consider the legacy of my rhythm. The grooves you create ripple out. They shape not just your days, but the lives of those you touch. Children, friends, even strangers may one day walk the path you have worn. Every small act repeated is not just a habit, it is a legacy. Ask yourself, what tracks do you want to leave behind? As the interview ended, the message was both sobering and empowering. Freedom is not a single act, but a practice, a willingness to participate in your own life, to return again and again to the groove you choose. Drifting is always available. So is intention. The law is impartial. Your decision is the only variable that matters. So as you step into your own story, remember, hypnotic rhythm will never rest, but neither must you. Keep showing up, keep returning, keep building the groove that serves your highest purpose. The devil's law is strong, but your will, repeated, is stronger. The interview was over. The real work was just beginning.